Assalamu alaikum, I'm Hiba.
And I'm Zaid,
You're listening to Diary of a Matchmaker.
a podcast that will take you into our world as matchmakers.
We'll share our experiences and offer advice for the single Muslim.
So let's dive in.
Bismillah.
Assalamu alaikum everyone, welcome back to another episode.
Yeah, assalamu alaikum. We're back with another week, a new topic.
Yeah, rejections is something we've talked a lot about in the past. I constantly share my personal experiences, and you can't help but to form some sense of misconceptions because of all these rejections that happen, right? And with me, after 9 years, I got this understanding that girls were just looking for money, and that girls were very shallow sometimes, and that if I wasn't living up to a certain standard, which was the doctor, lawyer, engineer kind of equation, earning six figures, then I probably wouldn't get married.
Though at that stage, they weren't misconceptions, they were conceptions.
They were, yes, yeah. That's a better way to put it. They were conceptions, but conceptions formed based on my experiences. And you can't help but to feel that way. And I'm sure a lot of people feel the same way after they go through years and years and years of rejections, that they develop certain conceptions based on their experiences. But your premarital journey didn't go that long, but did you have some kind of misconceptions or conceptions?
I had some conceptions, of course, yeah.
Like what?
Like, for example, guys go for the prettiest girls. If you're not pretty, you don't stand a chance.
But Auntie Jamila.
See? You just proved it. And that's why you married me.
Okay.
I don't know, that guys are controlling. And maybe it's because of the environment I come from the Middle East. Those were some fears and some conceptions I had. But that's the thing. Each one of us, based on their own experiences, their own I'm never able to pronounce this word properly. Upbringing.
Yes.
Upbringing. Based on their upbringing and their environment, they form ideas. And sometimes they could be based on some history, some stories, some things they've read. Right,
but it's not just coming from their upbringing; it also comes from their experiences, mainly rejections. Like in my case.
Yeah, but the danger is when we start generalizing and when we start exaggerating, and just throwing these labels. All men are like this. All women are like this.
Right. So let's go through a list of a few common misconceptions. All right. So number one, probably the most famous that everybody says, is that men only want beauty, women only want money. And there is truth to that, I think.
Like we said, all of them, they don't come from nothing.
Exactly. And based on my personal experience, yes, I've seen a lot of those cases. And not just from girls, but from parents too. That financial stability is one thing, but an unrealistic expectation or trying to live up to a certain standard, whether it's cultural or whatever, like you said, it's not coming from a vacuum, all right?
But does it mean that all girls are like this? All families are like this?
No, I mean, alhamdulillah, you and your family aren't like this. But from my personal experiences, I would say 8 to 8.5 cases that I ran into, whether it was on matrimonial websites, whether they were introductions to families, they were under this umbrella.
Are we here to reaffirm misconceptions or to debunk them?
I'm speaking the truth. I'm speaking from my personal experiences. So if that's reaffirming, debunking, whatever it is, I'm going to keep it real. But the fact that I married somebody who isn't like that is kind of debunking the myth.
But I'm not a rare case. Okay, listen to me. Don't listen to this guy. Guys and girls, listen to me. If you see happy marriages around you, if you see happy couples around you and successful marriages around you, this means that these misconceptions are not true or are not entirely true.
Yeah,
so
I
you don't have to
completely agree with you on
I
that.
said don't listen to him, right? So don't think that happy marriages and successful marriages are a rare case. There are good guys, there are good girls, but there are some, like we said, some misconceptions that are based on some experiences. That's my take on it.
Like I said, I'm going to keep it real. Okay. So I'm not painting marriage as doom and gloom. It's not every girl is shallow, right? Because obviously I found somebody who isn't. But then the question is, are girls generally like that? I haven't spoken to every girl on the planet. So I'm just talking from personal experiences that, yes, there are girls. I mean, I can still recall, and I had that email for years, that email where I think I reached out to a girl after a matrimonial event, or maybe it was on HOD. I think it was after a matrimonial event, saying that, I was interested in whatever. And she replied saying, sorry, my parents are looking for somebody who is more financially stable. And she specifically said, I think I showed you this email,
Yeah.
doctor, engineer, lawyer, something like that. And I'm like, and this was years into my search. And it was just this constant reminder and consistent pattern of girls seeking these things, or sometimes hiding behind their parents because they lack the courage to say it themselves. So again, the question is, are girls generally like this, or are they not? I don't know.
My belief is generally girls are not like this, and generally guys are not just looking for beauty, but some bad apples ruin it for everyone.
That's true. I guess that's a good way to put it.
You know what? When I hear you say this, you know what I remember? I remember clients or potential clients who, when we ask them, are you open to other ethnicities? They say, yeah, but not this X ethnicity. I don't want anyone from this X ethnicity. They're all like this, or they're known for being like this. And that's not fair.
I do recall cases like that, but that's usually, I don't know, sometimes it's because of a lack of physical attraction to that specific ethnicity, or B is because they've had such a bad experience with that specific ethnic background that they're generalizing.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly.
So,
so it's our experiences. Okay. Well, girls, when it comes to girls feel that guys, like I said, and I had this thought before, guys only go for the prettiest girls. If you're not fair, if you are not slim, if you're not tall, then you don't stand a chance. If you have some, I don't know, pimples, or you don't have the prettiest eyes, or you have, I don't know, whatever, you have a big nose or whatever, you don't stand a chance. And that's why a lot of girls end up using filters on their profile pictures. Or some girls even take it to the extreme of plastic surgery, or using like whitening creams to like lighten their skin tone.
Right. So, I mean, yes, social media does play a part.
And the makeup and the tons of makeup. Like guys say, why girls wear so much makeup? Because they think makeup makes them look prettier, and this would make them more attractive to guys.
But then the question is, are they doing what is generally expected of them?
What do you mean?
Right? If the guys are searching for pretty girls, then aren't they just doing what's expected of them?
Because they think they are making themselves prettier. They are raising their stakes. You see, it's a vicious cycle. Yeah. It's a vicious cycle. But not all guys. Sometimes you see, I don't know, an average looking girl with a very handsome guy. So what does this prove? It proves that, no, a lot of guys see inner beauty before they look at the outside beauty.
So where does this come from? So the thing that we can't overlook is how this is really rooted, partly rooted, but also cemented by TV shows.
Yeah.
Right? Like shows like The Bachelor, The Bachelorette,
Dubai Bling.
I'm not gonna lie, I kind of was just very curious.
I can't.
So I watched like maybe 1 or 2 minutes just to get a feel, and I'm like, it really lived up to the expectations.
Oh my god!
The most superficial things I've ever seen in my life, right? Like if you really want to see people living up to the misconceptions that we have, that is the show. Money, glamour,
beauty,
all of those things.
Sugar daddies, sugar mommies, or whatever it's called.
Okay, the point of this episode isn't to trash the show, but
no, I'm not talking specifically about the show. Yeah. But this is like what you see today in today's culture.
Yeah. Community gossip plays a part. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So we sometimes hear she only married him for his money or for his car, or he got a trophy wife.
Yeah.
The trophy wife statement.
Or she's a gold digger. Or
yeah. A point worth mentioning also is that people sometimes use looks and wealth as proxies for value.
Yeah, because it's easier. It's more tangible, you could say, right?
Right. Yeah. It's measurable.
Measurable. Yeah.
Yeah. So what effects do these misconceptions have? And I feel that the one that stands out to me is men adopt this as the norm, and they feel obligated to live up to artificial standards, right? So after 9 years, I remember even one time, I don't know if I mentioned this once, it was probably 7-8 years into searching, and I just got so fed up that at one point I changed my matrimonial profile and said I was a doctor.
Oh, wow.
Because I just wanted to see what would happen.
Okay.
I kept everything the same, my profile picture. I think other basic details were the same, but I just changed my career. It didn't have a difference.
For how long? How long did you test it for?
I think maybe a few weeks or a month, which made me feel even worse because then I realized, God, I must be a really ugly guy. And that even by changing my profile to a doctor, I can't even get a girl.
Wow. You should write a book, name it Diary of a Spinster.
Or Diary of a Desperate Single.
Desperate guy.
So,
well, I can tell you for girls what effects this has on girls, which I already mentioned, that girls feel stuck in this trap of a never attainable level of beauty. Whether it's weight size, and you see all these crash diets and even some eating disorders, or whether it's the pressure of just looking a certain way and dressing a certain way. And even, you know what? This is in my culture, like in my Middle Eastern culture, some girls and some families don't encourage their daughters to wear the hijab until she gets married. No, I'm not going to wear the hijab because if I wear the hijab, men aren't going to look at me. So inshallah, after I get married, I will wear the hijab.
Wow,
and some families,
I've never heard this before. That's crazy.
Yeah, and some families actually, they object to their girls wearing the hijab. No one's going to marry you with the hijab.
Oh, prior to marriage?
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. With this sole intention of helping them get married.
Yeah. Subhanallah. So like I said before, it's a vicious cycle. Like we keep feeding it. And that's why we need to tackle these misconceptions. Because if we keep believing these misconceptions, then we're just contributing to this cycle.
Yeah. So, like you said, it has to be dismantled. The other thing I wanted to say is the swiping app culture. And this, because of these misconceptions and people thinking, okay, I have to live up to certain standards, then the swiping app culture easily kind of takes control, right?
Yeah, we don't even read anything about the person. We just look at their picture.
Right, because we associate value with how pretty this person is or how much money they have.
Or how successful.
Yeah. So how do we dismantle this?
It's very easy. It might seem hypothetical, but it's not. Just go back to the deen. The Prophet ﷺ said, a woman is usually married for one of four things: her money, her lineage, her beauty, or her deen. So we all know this hadith, right?
Yes.
Marry the religious one, you will be blessed and successful. And it doesn't mean that, like, if you marry the religious one, then she's going to be an unattractive, like look for an unattractive woman, but who has a good religion. No,
right.
It means
that's not what we're saying.
It means that this should be your main criteria. If religion is there, then look for the other things. But if you're prioritizing only beauty and she doesn't have a good character, she doesn't have a taqwa in her heart, then your marriage is going to be miserable.
Right.
After a few days, few months, or a year or whatever, you're going to get used to her beauty. She's going to grow old. She's going to grow wrinkles, right?
Right. So the point is, and the beauty of this hadith is that it is telling you to look beyond the surface.
Yeah.
Right? The misconceptions are all surface-based.
Yeah.
Money, beauty, things like that. But this hadith is a reminder to go beyond that. And how you go beyond that, we've dedicated an entire episode asking the right questions, assessing a person's character, things like that.
Yeah. And for guys, the Prophet also alayhi salatu wasalam said that if a guy with a good deen and good character proposes, then marry them. So it doesn't mean
going beyond the surface.
Exactly. It doesn't mean that look for a good deen and good character, but he should be broke. No. Like you always say, المؤمن القوي خير من المؤمن الضعيف, or اليد العليا خير من اليد السفلى. Like a strong believer, strong in his character, in his like physical state, in his financial state, is better than a weak one, because you're not being a burden, right? So look for this, but don't make it the first priority, because he could have all the money in the world. And now I feel like I'm a lecturer, or like I'm an auntie, or like an old person giving a khutbah or anything. But sometimes, these are things that, because we've heard them so many times, we don't stop to actually think and ponder and reflect on them. So he could have all the money in the world, but he doesn't treat you right. He has a terrible character. Or, I don't know, he might be secretly drinking. Like, he's going to be a terrible father. So what good will money do you, right?
For sure.
Yeah. I think, honestly, out of all the gendered misconceptions, the one we just tackled, is the most common one. So I hope the ranting we just did and whatever we just discussed, I hope it just gives you a moment to rethink what you believe about the opposite gender.
And honestly, just talking to guys and girls in general, you can see these misconceptions play out in different ways. Like if you really pay attention to the language and the reasons that they're delaying marriage with guys, they may not articulate these specific or these misconceptions in these words, but it's hidden like underneath their tongue, right? Like why they're delaying marriage is because of financial reasons.
Exactly.
What are the financial? Is because they have to live up to some artificial standards of income and financial stability and things like that.
So these are not hypothetical things. These are actually hindering singles from getting married. Yeah. Okay, what's the next one?
Misconception number 2, men fear commitment, women are desperate for it. I see this play out in movies all the time.
All the time.
He's not that
now
into
it's a cliche.
The guy stringing along the girl for like more than half the movie, and then finally she gives an ultimatum to the guys, like either you want me or you don't want me, and then the guy's like, okay, and then he has to like turn on the maturity switch and then take it seriously, and then they live happily ever after.
Monica and Chandler, remember?
I'm not a hafiz. My hifz is not as strong as yours, unfortunately.
You can actually see this play in every sitcom out there.
Okay.
Almost, yeah.
Okay. Going back to the original point, are men fearful of commitment? Well, I'm married, so I'm in a committed relationship, and
you better be.
Oh, I better be, huh?
Well, what about girls? Women are usually painted as desperate. She just wants a guy, and it's also reaffirmed in movies a lot of times. And she spends all her life just trying to find a guy who actually wants her and who's serious about commitment and all of that. And this actually scares the guy, you see? So each misconception is feeding the other misconception. This scares the guy. The moment he senses that this girl is actually like pushing for marriage or whatever, he gets scared and he runs away. And then the misconception of being fearful of commitment just gets reaffirmed, right?
So it becomes a vicious cycle. So one is trying to avoid the desperation part, and the other guy is trying to avoid the commitment part.
I guess.
But they're both ultimately hurting themselves.
Exactly, yeah. At the end of the day, what are we doing here? Are we looking for marriage or not?
Right, that's what it all comes down to.
Exactly, like intention.
And not just intention, but just simply coming back to our deen. The beauty of our deen is that it simplifies our lives. It really does. Western norms and practices of dating and stuff, it really complicates our lives so much because we get into these situations where there's so much ambiguity.
I really feel bad for people who date, and usually, like, it's non-Muslims, right? People who date, who live together or whatever, and there's this confusion, like, what are we doing here? She's waiting for him to pop the question and to surprise her with a ring in this chocolate cake, and he is trying to avoid, like, every time he says we need to talk, she's thinking, oh my god, he's gonna break up with me or he's gonna propose, and like there's this
And meanwhile, years are going by.
And sometimes after dating for 5 years, 6 years, oh, I just don't feel like we're the right fit for each other anymore, or I don't love you anymore, or so.
Because they didn't have intentions from the get-go about
they didn't
marriage.
have clarity, exactly. And 5 years get wasted. Like, time doesn't forgive.
Yeah, and like when people talk about dating, at surface value, it makes sense. Don't you want to get to know the person? Don't you want to see if they're a good fit and just go out and things like that? But our deen always starts with intention, right?
You sorry to interrupt, but before you jump to the deen, the problem with dating is it doesn't have, like, the intention from the beginning are not clear. They could be, this person could be dating for marriage, but the other person is dating just for fun. Like, I just want to have someone in my life, but I'm not serious about marriage. Exactly, right?
Yeah.
But like you said, in our deen, we have marriage. Either you want to get married or you don't. So the only reason you're talking to someone and you're getting to know them is for marriage.
Exactly. So there's very simple ways to dismantle this. And it comes back to the first misconception we talked about. Come back to the deen. Honestly, that's like the answer for every misconception probably that we're going to tackle. Come back to the deen. And how do we do that? Intention, be direct, be clear, clarity. Reaffirm that you are speaking to somebody for the purpose of marriage, that you have a desire to get married, and frame your conversations with the goal of marriage, obviously, with the goal of getting to know them in depth, right? That you're not wasting your time talking about travel destinations and the weather and things like that. Okay, maybe in the beginning as icebreakers, but the goal is to get to know them in depth for the purpose of marriage.
And you know what? If you, like, really don't desire marriage, like, deep down you're not looking for marriage, like, be honest with yourself and don't waste people's time. If you are not ready for marriage right now, there are certain circumstances that prevent you from getting married. Don't waste people's times, right?
Right. Yeah. And maybe just having certain phrases in mind when you're speaking to somebody, that I'm serious about marriage within 6 months to a year. What is your time frame looking like? Right? Like having those conversations early on, because if the person you're talking to is looking to get married after the 4-year graduate degree or whatever degree, but you're looking to get going in the next year, then there's a misalignment and you're going to be wasting your time.
Yeah.
So having the time frame discussion, maybe we should coin it the time frame discussion.
Or something like, hi, I'd like to get to know you for the purpose of marriage. I am interested in marriage.
Within the next year or 2 years.
I don't know about this, especially like in the beginning stages, because it could scare.
After you get past the icebreakers and there's a certain level of comfortability, then
we do ask it on our registration forms.
Oh, yes, how soon we have to.
Yeah. But sometimes, a guy and a girl are talking and it's been 5, 6, 7 months and there's this like confusion. Neither of them brought the topic of marriage itself. And they're just like hoping he's going to bring it up, she's going to bring it up. And like, it's just going to get resolved suddenly and magically.
Right. And if you've been talking for 6, 7 months and you haven't had the conversation about time frame, children,
in-laws,
not just in roles and responsibilities, right? Like if you guys are both working, then who's going to be doing the day-to-day things at home, things like that. And 6, 7 months have passed. I mean, you're honestly wasting your time. If you're overwhelmed and burdened and just don't know where to seek help, let us help you. We can be your personal matchmakers. Visit us at halalmatch.ca and book a free call with us. So misconception number 3. We actually have talked about this in the past, but it's important to also frame it as a misconception, which is religiosity equals a good spouse. And this goes back to our original point, which is looking for surface value traits, right? Where we see somebody or we hear of somebody getting up for tahajjud, attending 5 daily prayers in the masjid, and we automatically assume that this person has good character and that this person qualifies for marriage, which is a huge problem. And so there's a dichotomy between their character and the internalization of faith with the outward manifestations of faith.
I'd like to take this into a different direction, honestly. That they could be religious outwardly and they could have a good character. They're a good, decent human being. Like there's no dichotomy there, right? But they lack emotional maturity. They lack communication skills. They don't know how to handle conflicts. They get angry easily. They have self-esteem problems. They lack leadership skills. So it's not about like looking religious but being an awful person.
Right. So that's a good point, because what's happening there is that you are overlooking so many other important qualities because you're just so enamored by their religiosity.
And we see
like,
this.
Oh my God, this person is an alim.
He's a hafiz.
He's a hafiz,
yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Or he's a big beard, and like, oh my God, he's perfect.
We see this. The thing is, this one we see the most, I think, out of all the misconceptions. This one is the most visible to us. And when we ask potential clients, what are you looking for in a spouse? A lot of times, all we get is someone religious, someone with a good deen.
And that's the funny thing. When they throw out that term religious, sometimes they don't understand what that means. And we have to go deeper. Like, what does religious mean to you? Because what religious means to you is going to be what religious means to me, right? For some people, it's like, I want somebody who's getting up for tahajjud and like praying at the masjid 5 times a day. And for other people, it's just like the basics.
Who doesn't do any haram, for example, right? Yeah. But I think because we haven't taken the time to think about these terms, and a lot of times it's actually like reaffirmed or emphasized, like with good intentions, of course, but by like imams and shuyukh and stuff, just emphasizing when looking to marry, just marry someone with a good deen. If he fears Allah, then he will treat you good. Well, he could fear Allah, but he could be immature, right?
Right.
So there is much more to compatibility than religion. Like religion is the basic.
And don't get us wrong. Praying, getting up for Fajr is important, right?
That's
fasting,
like,
consistent that, but don't use that as the sole criteria.
I think it should start from there. Like if someone doesn't have the basics, and just today I posted this reel, this clip from our recent interview with Dr. Omar Hussein, and he was saying like when looking for a spouse, start with the basics. So when you're looking to get married, you start with your basics. If you're not consistently praying 5 times a day, then start with that. If you're not fasting Ramadan, start with that. And after you've covered that, then like improve in other like areas, nawafil and stuff. So that's the basic. It doesn't mean like you're a super Muslim if you're praying and fasting. This is the basic.
Yeah.
But it's not the only thing though.
And we can't deny that social media plays a part in this
Absolutely.
too,
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
We hear like sound bites and people with a big beard quoting verses from the Quran. Sometimes they don't know what they're saying and they just look outwardly religious, right? Yeah. So one way to dismantle this is to ask for concrete examples of religious practice. For example, you can ask the person, tell me about a time you supported someone when it was hard. Whether it was morally, through your time, whatever it was. Scholars often use this example too, where they say, when you're going through the courting phase and you're meeting somebody out in public, see how they treat the waiter.
Yeah, that's a good
one.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
What's another example?
Tell me about your favorite ayah and why is it your favorite ayah? Tell me about a time where you found an answer to a problem in the Quran. Tell me how you spend your Ramadan.
Yeah. So open-ended questions that reveals something about their relationship with their deen.
Yeah.
Okay.
Instead of asking, do you pray and do you fast?
Right, which goes back to our question episode. Yeah. Another way is to add behavioral checks in the getting to know stage, right? So an example of that is looking for examples of how they handle conflict. Everybody goes through conflict at some point in their life, but it's about how you handle it and how you manage that. Asking questions about the relationship with their parents, with their siblings, with their extended family.
Notice their emotional reactions. Like throughout the courting phase, you're gonna have disagreements. You might even have like fights or whatever, right? Mm-hmm. He might have a problem with work or with his parents. So notice his emotional reactions.
Nobody has a perfect relationship with every sphere of their life. Their work, their family, their community. There will be conflicts in some realm, in some form or another. And the question is, how do they handle it?
Exactly. Yeah.
Do they avoid it? Do they confront it?
Notice, does she gossip? Does he gossip?
Right. One way to, actually, that's a good point. One way to assess that is by seeing how much are they willing to open up or share secrets about someone else to you. Right? Because if they're willing to share someone else's secrets with you, most likely they're going to share your secrets with someone else.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly. Yeah. So besides looking for their religion, like we said, religion is the first thing, but it's not the only thing. Look for these things to assess compatibility. You could have a alim and a alima, two scholars who are so pious and stuff, but their characters are just complete opposite. They would be terrible spouses to each other. Not because they're not religious, but because this is just how people are.
Last misconception. Marriage will fix me or my partner will complete me. And I feel this is consistent with both of our cultures.
Yeah.
I've seen it so much in my own family, or extended family, in fact, where there have been some very inappropriate behaviors, specifically drinking, and the approach was getting him married so that he could fix up or change. And of course that didn't change, and it was a disastrous marriage. But same
thing we have in our culture with an added layer. So same thing, usually it's a guy, he has some behavioral issues, some bad habits. Get him married, marriage will straighten him, right? And it doesn't. And the
sometimes
poor girl,
it's not even bad habits, it's just immaturity, and then marriage will make him mature.
And marriage just makes things worse. And then let them have children, and the child will come and heal all the problems, fix all the problems. And of course it doesn't. It just becomes worse. Exactly.
Yeah, for sure. So where does this come from? Does it come from a vacuum? No, it doesn't. It comes from sometimes movies. Right? You see the guy who's just lazy, unambitious, immature, all of these things, and then this perfect girl comes along, and then she's like the cure to the problem. Right?
She pushes him to change and to improve and all of that.
Yeah. We sometimes see this play out with financial stability too. That when you're married, then it will force you to become financially stable, right? To take a career or a job more seriously, and that just becomes more problematic. Right? Yeah. So the point is that these things have to be done prior to marriage. You have to work on the internal stuff. So going back to marriage being a solution to problems, immigration, we hear it all the time, right? That like, I need to get my green card, need to get my PR card, and marriage is going to fix that. So we can skip over the compatibility, we can skip over all the important questions, because right now I have to solve this problem. And well, I mean, it did work out in one case in my family, but generally speaking, it's one of the worst things you could do.
It's unfair to you. It's unfair to the girl, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Marriage is half our deen. It's a complement. It's not a cure. Marriage, actually, marriage is not gonna fix your problems. On the contrary, it will magnify them, because if you have temperament problems, believe me, marriage is beautiful and all of that, but also it comes with sometimes testing moments, challenging moments. You're living with this person. He's going to provoke you sometimes, going to vex you sometimes. You're going to do the same. So if you have a temperament problems, it's just going to blow up in marriage. If you have like bad financial habits, marriage is going to just magnify them. I don't know, if you have immaturity, if you have anger problems, like, so don't enter marriage with this fixing mindset.
Yeah, or not just fixing mindset, but I'd also add, don't come in with dependency expectations.
Exactly,
right?
Yeah.
Because that will lead to resentment. Because when your partner can't solve the problem, so let's say, for example, going back to the immigration point, let's say for some reason that the marriage didn't solve the immigration problem, then you're just going to resent your spouse.
It's because of you. It's your fault.
Right. It's your fault. And so the intention that you came into this marriage or relationship with didn't get fulfilled. And now, instead of loving your spouse, you resent them.
Right.
Yeah.
So meanwhile, if you're a single Muslim listening to us and you're asking yourself, what can I do now? Start working on yourself. Like, you know yourself better than anyone else. You know if you have some anger issues. You know if you have some ego problems. You know if you need to work on your deen, or you need to work on your health. You need to improve your diet. Whatever it is, you need to become more financially mature and maybe have some financial literacy, right? So don't wait for marriage and then start taking these courses and the coaching. And this is a golden time. You're single. You don't have that responsibility of marriage and kids and household and whatever. This is your golden time. Use it.
Yeah. So, personal story. I've shared the story before. I think it was probably the first or second episode, where we shared our marriage story and how my journey spanned 9 years. And one of the takeaways that I feel I got from my search, and then especially in the last few months prior to getting married, was that I need to work on my faith. That I need to work on trusting Allah's plan. And so, going back to talking about self-work, I think my self-work was on my spirituality, right? And just being patient with my journey, wherever it goes. And of course, tying my camel, putting in the work, in matrimonial websites, making dua, things like that, of course. But realizing that I have to leave the rest to Allah.
Yeah.
So that was my inner work, I think.
Okay. Well, I can think of one thing I had to work on before we started talking, actually, which is self-esteem. I remember like a specific period in my life, and I used to have such low self-esteem. Like, I used to walk in the campus and thinking that, you know, there are students around us, they're laughing, they're talking, whatever. I used to think they're laughing at me. I'm walking, they're laughing at me. They're talking about me. And of course, which wasn't true. And part of it is because of my visual impairment. And then I don't know exactly how the switch happened, but I think I just started just trusting Allah's plan more and just believing that like we're all unique, and that people are good. People are not conspiring against me. People don't hate me, don't mock me. Like, there was a switch that I can't honestly put my finger on it. Alhamdulillah, my self-esteem skyrocketed. And like, did you notice when we started talking that I'm a confident person, or I lack confidence? Like, what was your impression?
I feel like you were a person who had a good sense of boundaries. For example, when we first started talking, you know, one of the first things you mentioned was your visual impairment, and so you wanted to make sure that was something I was comfortable with, not just for the sake of moving forward, but it's just like, this is a part of my identity. This is something that I've dealt with for a long time. So either you're on board with this or you're not, or don't waste my time. That was kind of the vibe I got, right? Like, this is serious, right? Like this is something that I've dealt with for some time. That was kind of the feeling I was getting. And so, of course, I had to wrestle a few things with that. But yeah, I'd say confidence was there, but more of a sense of boundaries.
You know, I'm trying to imagine if I entered marriage with low self-esteem, I don't think you would have find that attractive.
Oh,
I don't
of course
think,
not.
Yeah. I don't think.
I'd argue that it looks more unattractive with guys than girls.
Yes,
For
absolutely,
sure.
absolutely.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've always heard that maybe that, I don't know if that's a misconception, but girls find self-confidence a huge means of attraction.
Of course, because it's associated with
attractive
leadership. It's associated
Right.
with strength and with just being a man. I guess manhood. We just last episode we were talking about manhood and masculinity and all of that.
Yeah.
By the way, it was a great episode. Honestly,
Yeah,
masculinity
check it out,
and
guys.
toxic masculinity, highly recommended with
Do you
Dr.
remember
Omar
the
Hussein.
episode number?
74, I think. Just the episode before this one.
Wow.
Yeah.
MashaAllah, we're in
Yeah.
our 70s now.
Yeah, inshallah, once we hit 100, we should do something special. I don't know what, but
Yeah.
if you have any ideas for us what to do on our 100th episode, yeah, we're all ears and eyes. But those were the misconceptions.
Yeah.
I hope you guys that you leave this episode with a sense of just giving the other gender or the other person the benefit of the doubt and not generalizing.
Yeah, for sure. You know, there, like we said before, there is some truth to these misconceptions, but not every girl is a gold digger. Not every guy is just looking for beauty. There are people who want to go beyond the surface. So take the time to look for that.
And
to look
also,
for those people.
And also, once you become the best version of yourself, we're not talking about perfection, just the best version of yourself, you will attract the right people.
Yeah, I was just going to say that.
Yeah.
You'll become the magnet of what you want.
Absolutely.
For sure. So why don't you guys share a misconception that we might have missed? Or maybe you guys can expand on one of the misconceptions or conceptions that we shared.
Yeah, just let us know your thoughts in the comments.
Yeah.
Love to read them.
Until next time.
Assalamu alaikum.